had to do the classics. Hello folks, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another awesome video. Well, it's Monday night. You know what that means? It's time for some Raw. And this is a special Raw because it is the last Raw before this Sunday. And what is this Sunday? WrestleMania. That's right, the 31st installment of the biggest wrestling extravaganza that this industry has to offer will take place this Sunday near San Francisco. So, I'm going to go on record and say this without trying to sound like an angry mark. This has been the shittiest build-up for a WrestleMania that I can remember in recent years, and I've only watched half of them full. I only started watching WrestleMania at WrestleMania 14 when Stone Cold defeated Shawn Michaels for the world title. So I might not be remembering much, but I think this was a very, very, very weak build-up for this Mania. There could be others, to be safe for sure. I could be wrong, but this, for me personally, has been a weak one. But this Raw was actually good in the build-up that is WrestleMania. The first match we had, the first thing we had was Sting coming out to the ring, and he talks this time. Believe it or not, Sting does talk. For those of you who've never watched him in WCW and TNA, Sting does talk, and he talks about how he's not fighting Triple H for the fact that that he's the last soldier in a long-forgotten war. He simply wants to beat up Triple H because he needs to be beaten up. Then Sexy Power comes out, looking ravishing as always, and talks about how Sting finally made it to the big time. And a lot of other platitudes between them, and they trade barbs back and forth. Stephanie goes for the $1 million slap, but Sting catches it easily. Then the Admiral comes out, and he's not happy that you put hands on his wife. So just before he enters the ring, his wife gets this really mean look on his face that kind of turns me on in a weird way, and gives his sledgehammer. Sting produces his bat, and apparently in the world of professional wrestling, a bat is more dangerous than a sledgehammer, and so Trips backs off. Next up, we have a nice little tag team match between Dean Ambrose and R-Truth versus the team of Stardust and Luke Harper, the battle of the crazies, the collision of crazy, as it were. This was a pretty good match. Well, given who's in the ring, it is going to be a good match. And we had Wade Barrett outside the ring on commentary talking enormous amounts of shit. It was a good match. Did well to sell the importance of the Intercontinental title match. A lot of people didn't care for this, but for some reason I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be good. Probably the best match of the night because of only other people involved. And R-Truth. There, I said it. Ambrose and Ambrose and R-Truth pick up the win. Next up, I believe we had a world title match. It was a preview of a world title match. The first ever 6-person interspecies match between Los Matadores and the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Masters of the Universe, and Natalya. I couldn't remember much about this match, which is sad in a way. All I know is Natty got pinned by El Torito. Should have stayed in NXT, my dear. Let's see, what else did we have? We had a nice little 10-man tag team match, pitting. I'm trying to remember everyone that was involved. There's a lot of people in it. It's 10 people. On the face side, we have Ryback, the Primetime Players, Eric Rowan, and Zack Ryder? The fuck were you doing? Well, anyway, on the other side, we had Damien Mizdow, greatest actor ever, and I think The Miz, maybe, alongside the Ascension and Adam Rose. The match was okay for what it was. I mean, it was a standard 10-man tag match. You weren't going to expect a 5-star match, but it was okay for what it was. This was just to build up the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which everyone in this ring are participants of. So there's that. Another thing to note, Randy Orton had a match tonight, and the fans would pick who he would face. It would either be the Big Show, Kane, or a handicap match against Seth Rollins and J&J Security. In a totally not rigged sort of way, they choose J&J Security and Seth Rollins. This was just another build-up for their eventual match at WrestleMania. And it ends with Randy picking up the win and Seth running like a scalded dog. Yeah. Also tonight, the last member of the 2015 class of the Hall of Fame has been announced. And to no one's surprise, Big Sexy, Kevin Nash, Oz, Vinny Vegas, The Killer, whatever you want to call him, is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. This means that all three original members of the NWO are now in the Hall of Fame. And that leaves only 2 members of the Clique not in the Hall of Fame yet, being Triple H and Sean Waltman, aka X-Pac, aka the 1-2-3 Kid, aka Six Pack, aka whatever you want to call him. So, congratulations, Kevin Nash. And right now, I can hear Kevin Nash is tearing his quad. Yeah. Next up, we have a Divas title match between Nikki Bella, defending against who she had a choice of between AJ and Paige. Now, they obviously did this for tension purposes, of course, because these 4 women have a tag team match against each other at WrestleMania that no one will probably watch because the Bellas are to suck. This was a good match, surprisingly. Nice and long, although I hated the end because of the shenanigans involved. They all spill outside the ring. AJ pulls Brie off Paige so she doesn't interfere. And while with her back turned, Paige comes up to try to say thank you for helping me, and AJ kind of back slams her with an elbow, thinking it was Nikki. Nikki throws her back in the ring, puts her in, gives her that little Lex Luger torture rack thing, and picks up the victory. AJ and Paige predictably get into an argument and start beating the crap out of each other. I am not excited for this match, even though it has two of my favorite divas in the entire main roster, AJ and Paige in it. I hate to say it, but it just seems like the Bellas are going to go over on them, which is a shame because Paige and AJ are infinitely more talented in every other respect than the Bellas are. Yeah. What else? Bray Wyatt cuts a good promo, hyping up his match with The Undertaker, saying that he has all his powers now, and that he will cast Undertaker down, back into hell, to conquer and become the new face of fear. Gotta love that Bray Wyatt. Backstage, Kane confiscates the belt from Bad News Barrett so they can be hung over the ring, which segues into our final match of the night, which is between Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan. But this time on another vote, fans get to vote on who will be the special guest referee out of the remaining participants in this multiple man ladder match. And of course, Dean Ambrose wins because Titty Master. This was a pretty damn good match. What would you expect from Ziggler and Daniel Bryan? And of course, Dean Ambrose was the life of the party, so what can you expect? Surprisingly enough, Ziggler pulls out yet another victory over Daniel Bryan. He won last week on SmackDown after the final match of the Intercontinental Ladder Match Gauntlet. Ambrose tries to congratulate him, but Ziggler slaps him away. Big mistake. And he proceeds to give him the dirty deeds. Ambrose is like, you know what? Fuck this. I want the belt now. Goes over the ring, gets a ladder, and of course all the other participants come out, and we have ourselves a nice little brawl. There was a painful spot with Luke Harper where a chair went down on his ankle. I hope he's okay because we don't need him getting hurt. Final segment of the night. Brock Lesnar confronts Roman Reigns. Now, I am going to quote Spoonie on this one, the Spoonie one, if you haven't heard of him. Go look him up. He has an interesting little show called Wrestle. And I know there's a lot of people on the CBR forums and a few other places that don't like Spoonie. I have disagreed with Spoonie on many occasions, but I can respect his point of view because he always brings up logical reasons for why he doesn't like something. And and I'm going to say this. Since Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, there have been many people offering different theories onto why Roman Reigns is not over, and why people don't like him. A lot of people say he's not ready. A lot of people say that his push was too obvious. His push was too forced. He lacks charisma. He lacks an appropriate identity. This is the thing about these theories. They're all correct. I can look at any of these theories and I can say, hey, this is actually right. Spoonie brought up a good way to book that Roman should have been booked for this match. He should not have been given many promos. He should have just been beating the shit out of everyone and everything around him. He should have just been an unstoppable Samoan monster. He's powerful enough for it. He's got the look for it. And his limited moveset could have been expanded upon by wrestling far superior athletes instead of just wrestling the fucking Big Show and fucking Kane 4 goddamn times a week. This push has done him no favors. And tonight was a prime example of that. We'll get to that in a minute. Paul Heyman comes out with Brock, of course. Fans are absolutely in love with the guy. And Paul Heyman cuts one of the most glorious promos I have ever heard him cut. Paul Heyman, when he cuts a promo, it's like he's making love to your ears. When he starts out, it's like he's giving your ears a nice, sensuous, deep tissue massage. Then he starts moving downwards as the promo gets higher and higher. Then he finally goes in dry. And then while he's fucking your ears, just because you say, oh, I don't do this on the first day, he reminds you, yes, you can, and you will. And he is just fucking your ears. You know you shouldn't be listening to it. You know you should be hating it, but you can't because it feels so good. And by the end of it, when he climaxes at the end, you just like, damn, I need a cigarette. I can't even tell you what he talked about because I cannot do Paul Heyman justice. It's probably on YouTube. Go look that shit up. And Brock Lesnar does his best to be the intimidating, all-destroying monster. The man who gods fear. The walking natural disaster. The living genocide. The one-man crime spree. He who is above gods. The destroyer of hope. The breaker of worlds. Brock Lesnar. He didn't need to say a damn word. And then Roman Reigns comes out. And in probably one of the smartest things they've done in his entire push, they did not give him a mic because there was no way on God's green earth that Roman Reigns was going to could cut a promo even a tenth of a percent as good as what Paul Heyman dropped on us tonight. So he gets in the ring, and of course, Brock looks at him, and he laughs because he can. Holds the belt high over his head, and then Roman just snatches it away, and Brock has the look on his face like, you want to die. And they get into this, and he tries to snatch it back, and then they get in this kind of childish tug of war with the belt. It looks so juvenile and pedestrian. It looks so bad. If he had gotten in the ring and started fighting Brock, that would have been more believable than just this whole, it's mine, no, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. I'm not even blaming Brock for this because I know this wasn't his idea. he probably would have wanted the guy to start beating his ass. Contrary to what you might believe, Brock Lesnar has a good mind for the professional wrestling industry, for the business. And he would have booked this a lot differently if it was him. I could see Vince's fingerprints all over this mess. It's sad. This was the final big thing that Roman Reigns needed to make believers out of everyone. I've been counting down in all my videos how many weeks he had left to make a believer out of me. And right now, I don't believe Roman Reigns can beat his dick, let alone beat Brock Lesnar. I don't believe it. And I won't believe it when he eventually wins. Because we all know he's going to win in probably the most ass-way fashion. And the fans are going to turn on that. He's going to turn on that match. He got booed when he snatched that belt from Brock Lesnar. He got booed. And he's supposed to be the face in all this. So yeah. And since this is WrestleMania weekend, since this is WrestleMania week, if I had it, I would bring it out. I would bring back the D-Cell Battery Award and give it to Roman Reigns' push. Because this push has done him absolutely, positively zero favors. He is not over with the fans. He is not over with the ring. His mic work is average at best. His in-ring work is average at best. He can get a good match, but he needs to be carried to a good match. It's just a shame that he's going to suffer behind this. His title run is going to be ass, and when he loses that belt, it will be a long time before he even gets within spitting distance of that belt. Or if he's just not shuffled off into the mid-card and spends the rest of his career in the mid-card along with Kofi Kingston. But this has done him no favors at all. So yeah, that is my thoughts on the final Raw before WrestleMania. If you like what you see, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions? Leave them in the comments. I'll answer whatever you have for me. So until the next time, this is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat saying good night. And Jesus fucking God, Roman Reigns.